1. As the only single debater in my bench, if I ever got into a relationship, I better be able to tell my friends that my boyfriend is treating me right and he's spoiling me. Because if he isn't, then it's not worth giving my time and effort in a relationship that is growing to be complacent with my partner doing absolutely nothing about it. I think, realistically speaking, if your partner asks you for flowers, you can just pick flowers nearby or make paper flowers. It's not about financial capacity, it's about effort. A few rebuttals before my extension then. Firstly, Gov has to understand that the majority of circumstances and events gravitate towards being the average, meaning that to have the best possible debate, we assume that people want average things. It isn't settling for less. It isn't wanting everything in the world and never being happy. On average, people want a decent amount of effort, like what my partner has already told you. This is why, on average, even with social media, people are still going to find some degree of happiness. Yes, social media isn't perfect, but the aspiration to want things and push your partner to be able to get that won't kill you or destroy your relationship. We push men to work harder, not just to accumulate wealth, but to be able to provide for their spouse and future family. Second, even if people are not happy because they constantly compare themselves to grand things on social media, they are entitled to try and find a partner who really can give them that. So, if you settle for less and stay with your partner, even if they can't provide it, it's actually a disservice. A disservice to yourself and to him. You are entitled to opt out and find someone more compatible. Third, Deputy Prime Minister argues that people are too busy and economically unable to provide for themselves and their partners. Then, maybe you should reconsider being in a relationship in its entirety. This is as opposed to spreading yourself too thinly. As they say, you cannot give what you do not have. So, this narrative actually pushes people to make informed decisions about wanting to be in a relationship. Relationships are tough and expensive. There are economic realities and expectations with having to provide not just for one but for two people. So people, through this narrative, better question their capacities to be in a relationship to begin with. This flips what DPM tells you about teenagers being the most affected. Teenagers can now know that relationships truly are demanding and difficult, and they have to be ready to provide in terms of time, labor, and material things. But lastly, government side largely misrepresents our case and assumes it's the materialistic race to the bottom. We already told you how, number one, these are valid choices and some people really aren't contented. That's where they can break up or opt out. This is where you save your partner the frustration later on and you don't sell yourself short. But number two, we hold them accountable through this narrative as a checks and balance to protect against the likelihood of monotony and complacency that naturally happens over time. I mean, on average, relationships get better on our side of the house. So let's talk about my extension. My extension is simple. This narrative allows people to realize what they want in relationships and increase the likelihood of compatibility in current and future relationships. Now, why do we say this? Because you as an individual have limited experiences. The problem that the government bench has is that they force individuals to normalize complacency, or at their worst, normalize abuse in relationships. I say this because individuals on their side of the house aren't as exposed to this kind of media because you ultimately reject the narrative of putting effort in relationships, which means that if the individual has only experienced partners who are indifferent or abusive, then they will think that that is the norm. At the very least, on our side of the house, the prevalence of this narrative in social media is one that is beneficial for people in relationships. Because if they are in complacent relationships, then they're able to bring this up with their partner because they want to reignite the spark between them. If the partner puts in effort, then great. And if they don't, then it's your decision to leave. I say this because relationships are a two-way street and both parties need to put in effort for a successful connection. But not only that, you still need to remember your self-worth and know when it's time to leave rather than staying in an unfulfilling relationship. And for individuals who have been in nothing but abusive relationships, this narrative serves as a proof of concept that no, you shouldn't settle for someone who hurts you. You are worth more than that. You have the right to leave and find a better partner. This is something that individuals are more likely to realize on our side of the house, that they deserve more when this narrative is brought about in social media. But a single girly pop in the modern day who has never had a boyfriend, the narrative of if he wanted to, he would, helped me realize that I can find someone who would take me on picnic dates or go on late night drives with. Again, you don't know what you want until you see what's possible. That's why individuals are more likely to choose the careers their parents work in, because that's what you know. The more you can learn about things like someone's boyfriend calling them, not because they need anything, but because they want to spend time with them, it serves as a realization that I could have that too. This isn't about money. This is about effort and experience with my partner, which ultimately helps me with my self-actualization because I now know what I want in relationships. Which means if I do get a boyfriend, then I'm more likely to be more content since he's more likely to meet my standards and is more likely to be willing to put in the effort to take me out on dates and, come over to play games. It's a safety net to be exactly compatible with your partner. It ensures that you get what you want in relationships. Because you know what? You need to have personal standards because that's a good thing. What's the comparative? You go into a relationship not having a standard. Then when something goes wrong, you don't know if you should ask for more or if this is just normal behavior. On our side of the house, you get a narrative that sets a standard for people getting into relationships. The standard says that if you don't fit the standard, you can leave and find someone who's way more compatible for you. It's a way of taking care of yourself so that you don't get into an unsatisfying and unfulfilling relationship. For all those reasons and more, if I do get a boyfriend, please meet my standards. Thank you.